Inside Leominster is brought to you through the generous support of Colonial Insulation Company, residential and commercial insulation and fireproofing services, specializing in blown-in cellulose as well as spray foam insulation. For more information, visit their website, colonialinsulation.com. And by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donotshout.com.
Welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarella. We're live tonight as we are each and every Thursday night, and we talk about what's happening in the city. And tonight we have a full show with plenty to talk about. Big Art is in waiting. We have Angie from the Conservation Commission who will be joining us a little later. We'll be reminding you of a few events that are happening in and around the city tomorrow, which is Friday, and over the weekend. So, good weather. And speaking of good weather, we're heading up to speak to a good man, a gentleman, but a big man. Somebody asked me a question about you today, Art. Go
right ahead.
They were asking me a question about when you're coming on, and I said, I think very soon, right?
I hope so.
Well, don't we have them scheduled? Are you scheduled to come on?
No.
Okay. I think they're going to work on that then.
All right, no problem.
Maybe next week or something.
No problem.
If you're around. We have to check with your people.
Yeah, you got to check with personnel. I might be at a signing and photos.
A conflict.
With my award. That's kind of taking up a little bit of my time. They want me to have pictures taken with it, so they can post it in the lobby.
I'm trying to fix
the TV.
I'm trying to fix my collar here. I can see it's a little.
Yeah, go ahead. Because you're talking to me, you should look neat and be ready.
Squared away.
Sharp as a pin.
I want to be squared away.
Well, you're talking about the environment and squared away.
Mm-hmm.
A couple, 3 days ago, I'm going for the newspapers at 5 in the morning. I'm a guy that doesn't have to get up in the morning, doing up at 5, but that's me. Anyhow, I go up fish. I get to this four-way stop signs. I go through. I look to my left. There are three of the most gorgeous does on the third house on the left, on the front lawn, enjoying the hedges.
Really?
Little early breakfast.
Wow.
And I said, if those folks wake up and see it. And one of them, I swear, there were three of them. Mm-hmm. Two of them were eating, and one was standing sideways, like facing King's Corner, and it was like the lookout. This one wasn't eating, making sure there was no predators around, whatever. It was cool. I go get the papers. Coming home, they're still there.
Really?
Having a fine time for themselves. Now, that tells me spring is in the air.
Might be a little sweetness in those shrubs.
I don't know. I've got some shrubs. I don't know what they are. They're full of berries. But they're thorny as well, so I don't know.
I was heading up from Day Street, take a ride up onto Joslin, where Apple Barn is.
Yep.
And I saw a deer, and then another. It had to be 10 come flying across the street.
Well.
That's your backyard. That's your backyard.
Yes, we were bringing my grandson. I was bringing my grandson home last Sunday. He stayed over, and we went past the Apple Hill Barn to the stop sign. Took a left. I took that left, and I went around a corner, down a little bit, and on the left is the only open field. But at the edge of it, we counted. I pulled over and stopped. We counted 13 deer.
Wow, that's incredible. Tons of deer up in that area.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the more building goes on, they're going to get pushed out.
Yeah. I want to see a moose now. I saw a bear over the summer. Now I want to see a moose.
A number of years ago, there used to be a big barn heading up fish on the right there. They got like a little horse farm there now. but over on that far right-hand hill, there was a farm, and it was a Sunday. I'll never forget it, and the sun was out shot. There was a moose, and he was standing next to the barn sunning himself, and there were cars everywhere. I had never seen one except a couple of years ago on my way to golf in Westminster, the pond on the right. It's filled with reeds and lilies, and he was standing, getting ready to go over the guardrail, go down there and have some breakfast. Everybody's got to have breakfast.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't
It's
mess
very
with,
important part, most important part of the day.
don't mess with the moose.
That's right. Oh, no. I
Especially-
got way over in the left lane. And you stay right there, big fella.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that, but the F thing. Nobody ever wins when
I've
you
been
hit.
told I take up space, but not like that.
Right.
Other than that, that's about it.
All right. Good to hear from
Okay.
you. All is good.
Behave. We'll talk to you next week.
That's the plan.
Bye-bye.
All righty. 978-537-7760. That's the number to call here at Inside Leominster. And again, this is a interesting tidbit. In filling out the year-end energy report today, and since becoming a green community in 2012, finally got some tallies. And occasionally people will ask us at an event or sometimes here on Inside Leominster and say, well, you know, all the things that you've done, boiler replacements in the schools or windows or renovations at the high school, a new boiler at City Hall, whatever. So when you replace all the LED lights on the street lights, all of that, what is the actual savings? And so today, by filling out the necessary paperwork, we have a grand total of, drum roll please, the total savings is about 30% across all city buildings. So that's since we've been filling out the energy report back in 2012. So that's a pretty significant savings across all city buildings, 30%. But obviously we look to save more, right? I mean, that's the whole thing, is to get to 100%. We're taking a short break, and we'll be right back here with Angie from the Conservation Commission. We're going to talk about the day in the life and a little bit about conservation and what is necessary for you to do if you're thinking of working in your backyard. And and it abuts some wetlands and what can and can't do. Be right back. There you go. Huh? Talk about fun. Nice job, Ron. That's I know you've been trying to get down there, and so we've had some thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing. This has just been that kind of winter, but we've got some action on the ice, and hopefully tomorrow it's supposed to get cold, be cold for the next day or two. So maybe by tomorrow night we'll be able to skate. Let's go to the phones.
Hey, buddy.
And see if Crystal's there. Crystal, how are you tonight?
Good, buddy.
You're going for your tour tomorrow?
Yep.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
All right.
I know you want me to be myself.
Yes. You go there and just deep breath, hold it in, and then you just let it out slowly. Just think of being at the beach, the hot sun, your feet are in the hot sand, and you're relaxing, and then just go and have fun.
Can I tell them that you're my buddy?
Yes. You tell them that Ronnie's your buddy here. Ronnie's the camera one.
But I don't think they know him.
Ronnie? Everybody knows Ronnie. He's famous.
Well, the Shamrock machine is broken in Gardner.
Are you still working at McDonald's?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Well,
A little bit. But I'll let you know how how it goes for the tour.
all right. Free French fries for everybody. It's Free French Fry Friday.
So when do you want me to talk to you again?
About another 6
Saturday.
months. What do you mean? You text and call me and message me 800 times a day. What do you mean? When do I want you? What are you talking about?
I know we're buddies, that's why.
Yeah, I know. So whenever.
All right.
Okay.
All right, talk to you later, buddy.
All right. See you later. Good
Take
luck
care.
tomorrow.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right.
Love you too, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
978-537-7760. Angie's here from the Leominster Conservation Commission. She's the agent. And what do you think of that? 30% across all city buildings.
It's amazing. It's a huge accomplishment.
Well, when you think of how many city buildings there are and schools and everything, I mean, that's massive, and city streets and electrical pumps that we have that pump sewer or pump water or pump who knows what, right?
Exactly. Boilers, everything goes into it. You don't
30%.
realize.
So some people may think, well, if I had a test and I got a 30, that wouldn't be so good. But when you're talking about the aggregate, 30%
Yeah.
right off the top.
It's a lot of work.
And that comes a little at a time, kind of. It doesn't come all at once. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So we're getting there.
We are. And huge
My
thanks
goal-
to Wendy and Marco for all the hard work they've
sitting
done
there
on
pumping
that.
that all in. You know, you always have, like, you take the temperature, you get some sense of what you think, right? Of what you think. But you don't always know, right? And then you sort of add up the data, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, wait, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
30%. Now, what we need to know, I guess, is what was the utility bill in 2012, and then take 30% of that, right?
Yes.
Or how many kilowatt hours were you using, and all that. You know what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
I guess that will be the next step.
That'd be a really interesting comparison to do.
Yes.
I wasn't here in 2012. Otherwise, I might know that. But
Breaking news: in America's richest town, making $500,000 a year is below average. So we don't have to worry about. Ronnie, you're probably the only one that's in that category that I know right now. $500,000 a year.
that's crazy.
Anyway, so let's start a little bit. Let's start off with sort of spring's coming. People want to do work in their backyards, and they may or may not have water in the backyard, or maybe it was the wet winter. It wasn't there before, but it's there now, and they want to do some work. What's the sort of rule of thumb? Is there a certain amount of feed or a certain amount of water, or what's the rule of thumb? Just call you?
So that's always my best recommendation, because most people say, it might be wet, it might not be wet, but it's always better just to call and have that final say so you know for yourself. But usually know your backyard. Right now is a terrible time to judge if your backyard's a wetland,
Right.
because the
It's
ground's
really wet,
frozen,
yeah.
and all the rain and all the thaws we have is producing more water on the surface than there actually normally would be if the ground was thawed. But in the spring, it's usually pretty obvious. If you live near a wetland, you know it.
Yeah.
You can usually hear the peepers, you see the frogs, you see the wildlife, you see the mosquitoes, unfortunately, all the bugs, all that good stuff. But if you do have a resource area, wetland, stream, river in your backyard, or even floodplain, there is a 100-foot buffer zone. And then with a perennial stream or a river, there's a 200-foot buffer zone. So any work that's site disturbance in that area does have to go through my office, which is mainly just to protect you, so you don't end up coming back 5 years later, do you get a fine? Do you need a permit? You can't get a permit, or it can prevent a lot of issues in the future.
So best thing is, if you're not sure, best thing to do is call.
Yep, just
And
call.
so before you start working there, I've noticed some people who want to build pools, and they're like, early on, right? The pool company, or they may come in and say, I want to put a pool, and I'm not sure exactly. I think I'm okay, but I might not be. Obviously, the best course of action is to
Just
come
a call. We have a lot of resources in the office. We can use all of our GIS. We have our own Leominster GIS system, and then I also have a massive database. So most houses in Leominster, I do have a set of plans for, and I can usually tell you pretty quickly if it has an old plan on it, or if there's a resource on it, or if what you're doing is exempt, because there is a lot of exemptions to the Wetland Protection Act.
And the wetlands are becoming even more critical, because over the years, land gets filled, change of climate, who knows what happens, and you need that area to store the water. And even more important now than ever is you need an area that stores the water. And then, of course, there's vegetation and wildlife and all that, but it really serves as an area that the water sits until it can sort of
Recharge.
Yeah, recharge the area. So it's become even more important than
It really
it's ever
has. And that's why, per the regulations, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, 131, Chapter 40, includes flood storage as a resource area that has to get a permit. If you're in a 100-year floodplain, you do need to come to the office and see which permit you should get. If it's a simple RDA, which is a request for determination of applicability, or if you should go through the notice of intent process, because that flood storage is vital to protecting our water sources, protecting your property, protecting your neighbor's property. We don't want anyone to have a flooded basement. No one.
And the RDA is just going in front of the commission and saying, hey, I'm not sure, I want to put an addition on my house, but I just want to know if this is applicable, if this relates to me or not. And then that's an easy sort of thing. But they can start off by coming to you and you pretty much let them know.
A lot of things, the work can be done under an RDA. For example, we just issued an RDA for a drainage system within 25 feet of a wetland because there was minimal disturbance. And we issued an RDA for solar panels. I've issued RDAs for sheds, 5 feet away from a resource area. It's a good process to go through because then you know where the line is, and then you have a piece of paper. So if you don't get along with your neighbors, or if whatever happens, if anyone ever comes to question you, say, I've done my work.
But I'd like to make an anonymous call. Yeah, my neighbors just dumped 10,000 yards of, right? I mean, that goes on more than
my neighbor just clear cut the wetland and you
get
out there.
Yeah, that's it. It's all gone. And fences, same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
People, so it's just easiest
fences are exempt.
They are exempt.
As long as they have a passage for wildlife. But the state doesn't really worry about fences too much. As long as you're not putting your fence right in the middle of the wetland, it's not really going to inhibit wildlife where we live in the city.
Tell us what, from wetlands, and we just talked about deer, running through the apple orchards of the apple barn. So what this time of year, I'm starting to see some birds, I think, coming back. But what goes on in terms of wildlife in the wetlands?
Wetlands has a very large ecosystem. There's a lot of microbiology there. There's a lot of salamanders, frogs, toads. We have fairy shrimp in Leominster. We have a lot of National Heritage protected habitat in Leominster, surprisingly, which I know we have quite a few protected vernal pools. Lake Samoset, they have crayfish there actually, which is very rare, especially for a city to have that type of aquatic wildlife.
And thanks to some of the people and those organizations, Pete Lanzer and some of the volunteers up there up around Samoset, because they helped us to identify those we might never have known.
So for National Heritage, most of the vernal pools and most of the protected areas that are identified were identified by regular residents who were just passionate about conservation, passionate about the environment. And that's hugely helpful because there's no way that everyone knows what's in everyone's backyards, and it's private property, so it's just hard to know.
I might not know what I was looking for, but luckily around that Samoset area, there are a few people that are really big into the environment, or some people that did it for work. So they knew what they were looking for, which is really helpful, and that protects that. And today, one thing that I totally understand is you can build, and it could be profitable, or somebody could build their house, but there's a balance, and it can be done correctly.
Yeah, and that's my main goal as the conservation agent, is to assist you in building or constructing, working your yard in a way that's safe for the environment and safe for you. I'm not a hurdle to jump over. I'm just there to help you with the process.
978-537-7760, that's the number to call. And a typical day as a conservation agent, do you get a lot of phone calls from people, sort of asking questions, or anonymous calls, or?
Yeah, it depends on the time of the year, the questions, but I get a lot of questions, a lot of phone calls. A lot of people want me to come out to their properties, and I do go out to a lot of properties. I do a lot of site visits. There's a lot of plans that I review. Whenever I get a permit information, I read the entire permit application just to make sure that they didn't miss anything. If they need anything, I try to ask them to provide it before the meeting, just so we have everything and we can get everything done in one meeting, hopefully. It's always the goal. But I do all that, and then I also work with other departments, issuing permits, doing inspections. I do a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a busy year. It's always busy. It's never quiet. And then we all work together on different projects, and that's important to get some of these things done. We don't have like a assigned person for everything.
Amazing.
And yet everybody wears a number of different hats. And that's just how the job gets done.
And we have a really great team, and everyone works really well together.
Very much so. Everybody works well.
Makes everyone's job easier when you know where to go.
And that's one of the things I talk about in other communities when I visit, and they ask me about how does this all happen. I said, well, first you got to hire the right people, And then there has to be a climate, right? There has to be an
Yeah.
atmosphere of cooperation and not, well, that's not my job, so therefore I'm, go talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not my job. Rather than, we don't have a whole lot of people that work here, and we've got to get the job done.
Yeah.
Let's all kind of team up and make some things happen here.
In my own circle of conservation agents and commissioners, when I say, "Oh yeah, I just got off the phone with the DPW, with the guys at DPW," they take your phone calls.
Yeah.
Oh, you work at the building inspector. They call you and ask you, if this is okay. It's
Right.
really nice because it takes a lot of the burden off of the homeowners. It takes a lot of burden off the contractors because sometimes they don't know where they're supposed to go next. So it's really huge having that kind
And
of community
sometimes it's like
base.
rock'em sock'em robots. We don't always agree, and we have those
But we're
discussions.
but we're
Oh yeah,
respectful,
no,
and we have fun.
it's in a fun way. And so, what else can we start thinking about as the spring and summer comes? I mean, the wildlife is just so cool when everything starts to come back and the vegetation starts to come back. Is there anything special people should do? Like, I know that we use almost no sand at all anymore
Yeah.
because it really clogs up it gets into the wetlands, but it clogs up the catch basins and all that.
Yeah, which it's a lot of work.
And I just wonder sometimes about the salt and things that we put down in the road and whether or not
You never know.
whether or not we add enough water to it to dilute it to the point where it doesn't have a negative effect. But have you seen any kind of an effect on the environment from what we do use on the street to in terms of the wildlife?
I haven't seen any negative effects. I see the safety effects on it, which is positive. We don't want to be crashing our cars.
Right,
I
of
haven't.
course not.
I haven't noticed any overkill. I haven't noticed any heavy salting of areas of wetlands. Our plants are dying, which is what we want.
Right.
And the biggest thing I think coming in the spring and summer is that they're going to be the rainy season. We have a lot of catch basins in the city, and a lot of these catch basins are older, and no one knows if they're clogged. If you see a clogged catch basin, sweep it aside, or if you don't feel comfortable, call somebody from either my department or
they'll
someone at
pick 'em up.
DPW, and we'll come
Yeah,
over
they'll
and
come
we'll
clean
clear
it.
it because flooding is going to be huge. And if we get a flood from a blocked catch basin, all the debris ends up going down the catch basin
Right,
at some point,
which
and
is
then
not
into
what
a
you want.
resource area. And we have
The beavers do quite a bit of damage. In fact,
They do.
it looks like, you probably don't remember this, or maybe you do, sort of growing up on the other side of 495, but at one point, there were all the blue heron on Route 2 on the right-hand side, so when
Yeah.
you're heading east. But it
Oxbow.
looks like, and people used to pull over, they had to put no parking signs.
Yeah.
But if you look now, all those trees are gone. And I suspect that's a result of beavers damming up. And so what we're out there is some light wetlands have turned into like flood storage.
Yeah.
It's fine, but all those trees are gone. They've just saturated with water. And I know that there are regulations sort of protecting beavers, and there's certain ways to capture and release the beavers that we have to follow, but they do clog things up.
I love animals, but they are nasty little creatures, and they cause a lot of problems. So the first step, if you are having beaver problems, is to contact Chris Knuth in the health department, because he can issue the permit to trap or kill them, and then they'll relocate them. And then the next is to file an emergency certification, which is one of the other permits we have, to remove the dam to relieve the flooding. That makes
And
it.
we've had to do it behind Day Street. Remember, I told you
Yeah.
I could see the beavers back there, and they were just having a field day, and they were just clawing.
Yeah, behind Day.
Yeah, and then I could see the water tables coming up and up and up, and it's just.
And you don't realize what's going on until all of a sudden you find this nice, and the dams there are
I now
solid.
I now have waterfront property, right? And so there is.
And you don't want beavers in your backyard.
Right. And then the other thing is I serve on the board for the mosquito control. And so for some areas that do get clogged up and the water is not following its regular course of action, they will come out and at
Absolutely.
least make an inspection of the area and maybe come out and clean it out with the cooperation of the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent. And the other thing that they will do is spray or not spray.
Yeah.
And this time of year to start thinking about, before it gets busy and then you're calling to say, put me on the no spray list, is to maybe go to the website and get yourself,
now.
if you don't want, right now when it's not so busy. I forget how many thousands of calls we get in 2 days and inquiries we get on.
I was surprised.
It's Central Mass, but we actually, the area goes out to like Worcester now, to Borders, West Boyle. I mean, it goes, it's not just Central Mass anymore, it's a huge area.
Yeah.
And so they need time to organize and pull your name. So how it works is the machine will shut off automatically before it gets to your house. So if you say, I don't want you to spray, I want to be put on the do not call list, do not spray list, they'll add you to the computer, and the computer will tell the GPS that you don't want to be sprayed, and the machine will shut off before it gets to your house.
Yeah, mosquito control is a huge asset to our community
Yeah.
because I know last year I connected with them, and I connected residents with them several times for drainage ditches in their
Right,
backyard
just to
that weren't
clean it out.
maintained, that were
Keep that water going
flooding,
so it's
causing
not
health
stagnant, right?
problems. Yeah. And I can't call for you, so you do need to call yourself. But I can at least I try to give everyone that resource.
Right.
It doesn't hurt to have them come out and look because they are exempt from the Wetland Protection Act.
Right.
So they let me know what's going on. Sometimes
Yeah.
they include me
No,
on
they're
it.
great. They've been
But
great.
it's because there is health and safety, they're trying to prevent a lot of illness.
And the mosquitoes like me. I don't care what time of day, where I am. They just love me. All states. Yeah, they just really like
Just
me.
drawn to you?
I don't know what it is, but they really like me. What do we forget? Anything?
I don't know.
Did
Come
we
down to my
cover-
office anytime. I don't get too many
There's
visitors.
bugs in there and plants and
Lots of plants.
Lots of plants at City Hall. And she's like a plant freak.
I am.
You planted. You put something in my office there. It's saturated in water.
Yeah,
What's
that's
next? It's rooting. Is that rooting?
Yeah, so when the roots freeze, you can put it in dirt. It's a monstera plant. So they
It's beautiful. Remember, I had asked you about
Yeah.
it. Next thing I know is there's a tree and some water in a bucket or
Yeah, a little vase in your office.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
It is. It's amazing watching them grow.
Will
It's
it bloom and like flower?
They don't have flowers,
But they
they
pretty.
grow and they're vining. They're in mainly over in Asia, wild, and they'll just vine up buildings. And there's different species of them. I have quite a few in my own personal collection.
Yeah, you can come to
Of
City
course I
Hall.
do,
It's like the
yeah.
tropics of, It's like
Yeah, if you like
tropical
plants.
paradise. We got to get a aquarium sometime.
We do.
That's our next step.
It's my other hobby. I do have one little thing if I could say.
Sure, you can say anything you want.
So the Conservation Commission does run on volunteers. We have a 7-member board that it approves and issues the permits. I just present them the permits and present them the regulations. And I do all the paperwork, but these 7 members, they work really hard in our community. They get to review the boards, they work together, and we are looking for members. So if you are interested in conservation and wildlife, if you're an engineer, if you are a teacher, any of those things, doesn't matter what skill set you have, you're valuable to us if you're interested in joining the Conservation Commission.
All right. Well, good. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime, Dean.
Your kids watching tonight?
I don't know, they might be.
You got a phone hooked up? I know some people don't have cable, but they just watch it from their phone.
Yeah.
In fact, we're talking about percentages and 30% savings. Sort of last week, I tried to do a little bit of a survey to find out how many people are watching on their phones, using some sort of
yeah.
electronic device versus their television or cable. Trying to get an understanding from that, from how many views there were, or just people that, watch it later. So it looks like there are a lot of people watching it on their phone. So
Yeah.
you don't have to live in Leominster. And how it used to work, Carl, remember, Carl, they used to have Montechusett cable, remember? And so how it used to work is Lunenburg, Leominster, Fitchburg, and I'm not sure where else. So if they were filming the show, they could watch it in all of those towns, and some other towns too, I'm not sure. Now everybody has their own cable network, and I'm not sure you can get I'm not sure we can get Fitchburg, or they can get us or whatever, or Lunenburg can get us. But now people have their phones, and so that makes it a little easier.
You can watch it on Facebook,
I have.
like on demand.
I've actually watched the show while I was sitting here on my phone, just because I'm amazed. I'm like, that's amazing that you can actually look at your phone and watch something. So you could be anywhere, and I have friends that watch from all over the place. So pretty
really
interesting.
cool.
So
I'll have
if
to
your
ask them
kids
if they
are
watch.
watching, yeah.
Yeah. Hi,
If
Coda.
not, untie them when you get home.
Yeah.
All right, taking a short break. We'll be right back here at Inside Leominster. We're live tonight. It's Thursday night, and more to talk about. And I'm not sure we have photos of the week. We have. I know one thing, is we have Restaurant Week.
Ooh, I love Restaurant Week.
I know, and I'm trying to get to one. And anyway, well, hopefully it's going to work out.
You have some of the best
maybe tomorrow night.
restaurants.
Taking a break. Be right back. Hey, there you go, and we're back. So what happened is, to give you a little background, is a couple weeks ago we were showing the Flamingo Day, right? And so I said, I don't think that's this year. And they said, of course it is. And they said, why? And I said, well, because there was no snow on the ground this year. And last year there was, and it was very cold. So anyway, that's a little bit, I don't know, Ron will show you some more later on, but that's some of the important day when the Featherstone flamingo saw its shadow, and for us it means spring is just around the corner. And I'll tell you, this has not been a bad winter. We've had a couple of cool days, but nothing so bad that that it's going to make us look forward to a warm spring, right? So what happens is, like last year, it was cold, and then if you remember, end of February and March, we got snow and it didn't melt because it was so cold, and we had that cold front come down, that cold air from Canada, and it just wouldn't melt. And then finally, when it did, it just rained, and everything was muddy, and it was cold and raw. And so, we're fortunate. We haven't had a bad winter at all, and we've had those storms where you get an inch or two, and we still have to plow and salt and sand, but hasn't been bad at all. And I'm hoping that the Featherstone flamingo, was correct. We have about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes left to go in the show. Want to thank, first of all, let's thank our sponsors here. Who are our sponsors, Kyle? I want to make sure I get their names right, but we never seem to. We always have the show and we thank them at the beginning, but thank you to our sponsors. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, all you have to do is call here at Inside Leominster, which is the same phone number as LTV, and you sign them up, and there is a yearly cost, I think, to sponsoring the show, but we thank our sponsors for helping us out and underwriting the show. And again, if your business or your organization would like to underwrite this show, we do it live. It's probably one of the few live shows that we still have here at LTV, but it would be greatly appreciated, but thank you to them. Also, in a conversation with Melissa Tasker yesterday, and a big thank you to the whole team. As Angie and I were speaking, we have a good team of people behind the scenes. You don't always get to see them or know who they are or their name, but we have a great team that works closely together. And last night was our third or fourth time that we've done that drive-in movie theater thing at City Hall, where the kids come in, we give them a cardboard box, crayons, paper, glue, tape, whatever you need, and they decorate their little box and they turn them into cars and trucks, and some are real creative. It's a great activity for kids and their parents or guardians or brothers and sisters, but it was a packed house last night, very organized, and we gave out pizza and popcorn, and so thank you. It's a great event, and as I say every time, we have kids, and some people have one or two, or some 3 and 4, and you start to do things, and great, wonderful things to do as day destinations here in Massachusetts, but it can get expensive. And one day of a visit to any one of those locations, and you'll know where I mean, I'm not going to say where they are, they're great venues, but they are costly, and it adds up for a family. And you add food into the element, and it's a very expensive day. And so by Monday, families are looking for things to do. So between the things that we offered, the recreation department and the library must have had 2 or 3 things going on there today, and they're all excellent. And so we try to fill the week up with great activities for families to do, and this was a good one, and had a lot of fun, and very organized, and we were able to clean up pretty quick, so people helped us clean at the end, so it makes it fun. But I did want to thank the sponsors. Melissa was saying somebody had called and said, I've got some money I want to donate, I don't know, buy candy bars for the kids. And so she did. And there was another donation that came in right while I was standing there yesterday for $100, same sort of thing, whatever it takes, put on these events. We're very supportive. The businesses and different groups in the city, and even some individuals, have been so good about supporting our efforts for activities in town. It does add to what we're trying to do, and those donations, whether it's for flowers downtown or candy bars during an event, or just a donation to provide for horses and ponies at an event that we have that we don't have to charge. It is what a community. Nobody ever says no. People just come forward on their own. Sometimes it's just a blanket email saying, anybody interested in helping us out? We have a couple events coming up, and the people step up, and it is appreciated. So I didn't want to gloss over that. So tomorrow at City Hall from 10 to 2 is Once Upon a Time. And so this is a perfect event if you have grandchildren or kids, or maybe you're babysitting, or younger brothers and sisters. Come to City Hall between 10 and 2. We have the castle set up, and there's a ton of things for them to do while they're there, kids. There is absolutely no cost, and they'll have a riot. And so they get to dress up in their little Cinderella costumes or Snow White or whatever. Come on down. You'll have a lot of fun, and there's never a lack of kids that come through. And bring your cameras and post them to our Facebook page if you can. Restaurant week goes until Saturday, so please, goes to the 22nd. So today is the 20th, right? So if you were born and your birthday, and you were born at 2 o'clock this afternoon or 2 o'clock this morning, it was 2/20/20 at 2:20, right? So 2:20 in the afternoon or 2:20 at night. If you were born around that time, you would be a pretty popular person this day, right? Kind of cool thing, right? Imagine being born 2/20/20 at 2:20 in the morning. How cool. Imagine if you were 20 years old. Add that up. And so Restaurant Week goes to the 22nd. And then drive-in movie we already had. Let's do, I'm ready for photos of the week if everybody's ready. Put on my glasses. It's strange, I have to take my glasses off to see when I'm looking close, but I have to put them back on to see far. Pictures of the week, here we go. We were down, if you can move me up or down or sideways, there we go. A great save by David Huss. He's an employee at 110 Grill, and the lady to the right was choking on some food, and he knew exactly what to do. And the funny story is, he was walking by and said, "No, I know what to do. I'll take care of this." He provided the Heimlich method and maneuver, and saved the lady. And as the other employee said, he just moved on to another table and said, "Okay," and just went back to work serving the customers at 110 Grill. So thank you, David. Good job. And it really does matter. You never know when these things are going to happen to you, or when you're going to be around somebody that's happening to. And the fire department responded immediately, but it was nice to know as they were on their way that somebody there was trained and could be helpful. And so that was a happy day. A wonderful job by little Miss Nava. Is it Neva? Kimataris down there on Wheeler Street. And there was a fire in the house. And she knew exactly what to do. She ran out to the street and found a letter carrier. Letter carrier was able to call in to his base and call into the fire department, and everybody escaped safely. So nice job. So we went to Francis Drake School, and her entire grade came out. It was a surprise to her. Her mother was there, as well as her grandmother, Dee Dee, and that was a big surprise to her. And she had tears coming from her eyes. She was so surprised. So made the day. Celebration and some great advice was shared by Leominster Fire Department, and many of the members that you see there, obviously the fire chief and the lieutenants, but some of these firefighters were responsible for saving some of the kittens that were in the house, and they are doing well. So it was a special day. It's one of those fun things that you get to do, right? And Francis Drake raised some money, some serious money. I think they raised like $20,000 with a fun run, and the kids were pumped up. It was fun, organized, and the kids got to take laps as they ran. Okay, it's Nevaya. What? Nevaya? It's heaven spelled backwards. Oh, okay, kind of cool. I didn't know that. Thank you for the definition. Francis Drake, so they set a goal, I think, of 5,000. They raised 10, but then I think they upped it, and I believe they raised $20,000 to help with, trips. Some kids can't afford, or families, but trips and playground equipment and everything else. So congratulations to them with their fun run. And there's the MVP final planning meeting. And so about a month ago, there was a session attended by many people in the community, and they helped us with our sustainability plan for the future of the city. And at this particular event that we had at the library was basically to share it with the community and get some feedback, and we did. Some really good ideas were gotten at that forum. So now that final plan goes to the state and followed by funding. So thank you to everybody that could attend. Thank you to everybody who was involved in the process. And off we go. Movie night at City Hall, there we are. Great movie. And you know what? Hardly, a lot of times kids will get, myself included, get a little antsy, start to get fidgety. But when I looked in the hall and saw how many kids were still there after like an hour and a half, the event started. We had kids there at 5:30. This thing I don't think got over until after 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And kids were great, respectful and courteous and respectful of each other and helpful and appreciative. Could have been a meta night, so we were very happy. So thank you. Election worker training, early voting, is coming up next week, starting on Monday. This is for the primary coming up in March 3rd, but you can start voting early. So here are all the dates. Starting Monday, 8:30 to 4, Tuesday 8:30 to 4, Wednesday 8:30 to 4, 8:30 to 5:30 on Thursday, because we're open on Thursday nights, and then Friday, the 28th, 8:30 to 4, and then the primary is March 3rd. Police station kickoff meeting today. This is the first time we had a meeting. We have a great committee with all kinds of talent there. Everybody brings a different and special talent to the committee and the building committee. And today was the first meeting that we had all interested parties. So we had the design firm, the program managers, or I should say the project managers, all in one room, and got a lot done in about an hour and 45 minutes, or should I say an hour and 15 minutes was the total meeting. We all have our marching orders and plenty to do before the next meeting. So things are happening. The ice out contest. If you, it's time to take a guess. Poor Rocky didn't make it out there until just yesterday. So you can go to www.leovets.org and you can guess on when Rocky will take a plunge. Hey, it's going to be 50 on Sunday. You might want to get on there now, and then it's going to rain on Monday. Hey, Rocky might take a dip really early this year. So go to Leominster, go to www.leovets.org, and you can pick a time and a date. And I don't know, if it were me and I was a gambler, in fact, maybe I'll get on there tomorrow. I'm going to pick some times, maybe Friday or Saturday. What's the weather for the next couple of days? I'm not sure. I'll look. Do you remember this? Remember the old Leominster beverages? Leominster home beverages? Remember you'd go up and get a case? You can get a case of something, or you could mix them all up. I believe, I know some of the beverage companies that were in Leominster, were at least 2 that I know of, maybe 3, and they actually delivered. Come to your house, and God would carry in a case and take a case out, or 2 cases, or whatever it might be. Remember that? It's kind of ironic because Amazon delivers now, and everybody delivers now to your home. In reality, almost everybody used to deliver to your home at the time. They would deliver food, they would deliver beverages, they would come and sell clothes to your house and toys and everything else in between. Hey, look at that for Throwback Thursday. There I am. We are at the White House. There's Mayor Charlie Manker, Mayor Gardner, and Mayor Jeffrey A. Bean from Fitchburg. And I think that's the day we went out. They had signed a crime bill, which was a really big thing. It was a lot of funding that came back to communities like ours at a time of need. And there we were at the White House. And our seats were front and center. Thanks to Jeffrey A. Bean, he got us. We were, I think, the second row. How's that? There were hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people at this event. But Jeffrey A. Bean knew exactly how to maneuver his way around to get us good seats. So there we were. A long time ago, I guess. And that's it for the questions of the week, the photos of the week. Hey, I was talking about all the events going on at the library, and guess what? Tonight was, well, it's a little late for that, but they had the film night for grown-ups. I'll tell you, keep an eye on the library. There's tons of things that are happening over there. And tomorrow, Once Upon a Time, from 10 to 2 at City Hall. But create and customize your own wooden sign. You could do that from 10 to 11:30 at the library. And then Saturday, winter event at Barrett Park. And they're going to have some great things going on over there. I understand they even have a race car from, these guys that race on the ice. The Leominster Trail Stewards are going to be there. I believe the Leominster Fire Department or Emergency Management, the combination of the two, will be doing some ice rescue. I believe they'll be able to get out there after tonight. And so that's noon to 2 is the winter event at Barrett Park. And then Library Lego Inventors at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Leominster Public Library. So still plenty going on for February vacation. Okay, yeah, 12 o'clock, Project Apples is going to offer a guided story walk around the park and a scavenger hunt at Barrett Park. At 12:30, the Boy Scouts Troop 11 will build a campfire on the beach for everybody to roast the marshmallows, then demonstrate how to make ice rescue claws and watch them build shelters. At 1 o'clock is going to be the emergency management and the fire department. They're going to speak about ice safety and ice rescue. Come see the hovercraft used for ice and rescue and meet the rescue dive team. Watch a live demonstration of a person being rescued from the pond. And then at 1:30, the Leominster Trail Stewards will offer a guided hikes through the trails and have information available in the program building of a new Adopt a Trail program. And we're going to actually have them on as guests because we want to talk about that Adopt the Trail program that they're kicking off here in the city. And we could always use, the trails are nice for us all to visit, but somebody's got to maintain them. And it'd be nice to have either a company or organization or a family come out, or maybe it's a neighborhood that says, hey, we want to come out and adopt that trail, and we're going to come out here and make sure it's in good care. And then come warm up by the bonfire with a cup of hot chocolate provided by the Leominster Emergency Management, or just roast marshmallows. We hope to see you there. For more information, you can call Leominster Recreation Department tomorrow at 978-534-7529. Yes, 7529. We did have some issues last week with our phone system. The server, when the servers go down, these things are all connected by computers now. So when the server goes down, so do the phone system. But we're back up and running. And we do all have, everybody that works for the city now has an extension and can receive emails and phone calls. And we all have 4 digits. So if you're operating under the old 3-digit system, give us a buzz so you can check the website for new extension numbers. The exhibit by Mark Chester will be closing out on the 27th, and I did get a chance to take a peek, and it's really nice. It's called a Bay State, the Bay State, a multicultural landscape photographs of new Americans. Pretty neat. If you get a chance to stop over at the Leominster Public Library, please do. Census Job Fair. It's coming up because we need people. Friday, March, in all capacities. Friday, March 6th, 1 to 3. At the Leominster Public Library, great pay, flexible hours, weekly pay, and paid training. And this is all provided to you by the U.S. Census 2020. And they actually have a website. It's called, I guess it's Census 2020. Can you believe it? It's already beginning to, Lenten season is starting soon. Ash Wednesday for Catholics is coming up soon, but one of the big events that happens during all of this time is Great Fellowship, sponsored by the Ladies of St. Anna's Society at St. Anna's Church Hall. It's Lenten fish dinners. They have a 50-50 raffle every week. Our TV raffle is backed by popular demand. For every full fish dinner ticket purchase, you will be entered in a free drawing to win a 43-inch TV set at the end of 6 weeks. So, again, it's February 28th, March 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, and April 3rd. Fridays from 4 to 7 until they sell out, so get there early. And you know what? It's really cool because you see people there you haven't seen in a long time. They have children's portions for $6, adult or $11. Where are you going to get a fish dinner for $11? Bake haddock, coleslaw, potato, vegetable, mac and cheese, or pasta with marinara sauce. Dessert and marinara sauce. That sounds good right now. Dessert and beverage. Anyway, over at St. Anna's, February 28th, starting next week. Coming soon. Is next week Ash Wednesday? Anybody know this stuff?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll tell you, January went by so fast, and February's right behind it. And maybe because it's the good weather and a combination of that, and it's been busy. Okay, some more news just coming into the desk here. Mountain View Landscaping Company that did the work at the park on Laurel and Mechanic Street. got the job again. So the second phase of this, which is actually the third, but they just received the award for the third phase of the project, and it will begin March 9th. What do you think of that? It's getting started. Hard to believe. Construction begins. And the 14th annual Icicle Ball is coming up March 7th at the Doubletree Hilton. It's $50 per person. Students are $35. Cocktails 6 to 7. Dinner, dancing 7 to 10. Music provided by Leominster High School Jazz Band. It's one of the best events of the year. And I will tell you, if you cannot go but you'd like to support them, maybe buy a ticket anyway, or maybe just send in a donation. So if anybody's watching from my office, if we could maybe get them on as guest. We're going to get Big Art on as a guest. We're going to get the Trail Stewards on as guests. So there's 3 weeks of guests that we can get people on. So that's coming up soon, March 7th, like right around the corner. Is this a leap year?
It is a leap year.
Maybe. How cool will that be? We should have a birthday party for leap year people. You know anybody that? I know some people that were born on leap year. Anyway, what'd you think, Jeff, of AAF? I thought that station would be around forever. Rock and roll, right? That's the last real place that you could go in our area, at least. That you could get, turn on the radio and listen to live rock and roll.
It's hard to believe. I think I'm living in an alternate universe all of a sudden. Isn't there going to be no WAF?
When you think about BZ Radio, got rid of the overnight talk show. They just do news now, and then on the weekends they have live talk. But when you think about, places where, like, when you think about Larry Glick, and you think about the people that replaced him, and thinking that there's always room and people up at night, especially now, 24-hour society, that there's always an appetite or a need for a show that's not political. So you can turn on the radio, you can listen to like Art Bell or whatever the guy is that took over for him, coast to coast, and talk about, those kinds of things, which is interesting. And then you can listen to the repeat shows and some live programming for, political views of both sides. But there's no place to go anymore where you can just listen to a radio station. Now you can listen to a podcast, but there's something different about turning on the radio, maybe hearing some static, and knowing that there's somebody live at the other end that people will call in from all over the place. 32 states, people could call into WBZ. But there's just something cool. It's kind of like reading Yankee Magazine instead of reading it off a Kindle, actually picking it up and reading it. And so when you hear things like that happening, we're lucky. We have we have our own radio station here in Leominster.
XLO, and then we have LPZ.
Still around,
yep.
And that have actually live programming, right? I mean, we had, at one time, I can't even tell you when you walked into WEIM, right? When you walked in, the building, 2 stories, just filled. But at least now, we still have live programming. They have like excellent, I listen to AM radio. Everywhere I go, I'm like listening, put it on scan, try to see so I try to listen to try to hear what I can pick up on for local programming. And there's nobody that has as much local programming on the AM dial as we do for a small area. So we're fortunate to have that, live programming here in the area. And as I said, WLPZ and WPLX and all these other stations that are around there, I know I'm going to get a call that I messed it up, but I'm sorry. But what I'm trying to say is we have good local programming here in the Twin Cities, and we're fortunate for that. So yeah, that was a shock to see WAAF. Like, come on, what's next, right? And I think it was news to them as well. So they had some good shows, good music, right?
They were even trying to stream, they were one of the few stations that actually went to streaming, and they still didn't make it, which is kind of surprising because that's where it's going.
It's kind of strange because as much as I'll listen to something, as much as I'll listen to, whatever I can, and I'll listen to things that are already, been taped or recorded or whatever, there's just nothing like sort of live. And streaming is live, so if you couldn't catch it, if you couldn't catch it and you lost signal, which AAF had a pretty big, and XLO have some really big, they're powerful stations. You can hear them all over New England. So anyway, what they call themselves, the Rock of Boston.
Yeah, they used to be the Rock of Boston. Now
Jeez.
they're all done.
And coincidentally, well, BCN's gone, right? I mean, just, and you wonder whether this will all come back. You know, whether they're just that need and feel for that, you know, turning to a station and actually listening to it. I don't know. We'll
All
see.
that's left is Rock 101. That's it.
That's sort of my era stuff, right? That's classic rock, right?
Yeah.
Is that the classic rock station?
Yeah, out of Manchester, New Hampshire.
Well, hopefully Mistress Kerry will have a, hopefully they'll pick her up. I guess they're going to still continue on 104.1 or whatever it is, and they've still got some streaming, and hopefully that you know, she's a local lady here and really have built a brand. I mean, she's got a brand. I got to assume that people will pick her up.
I think Tina has an interview with her next week.
Does she?
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Okay.
Tina and Carl are going to interview her next week.
Good.
That's
Well,
floating around.
Do you really? No? Okay. Well, anyway, she is a brand. She's created a brand for herself, and I'm sure there's somebody out there, and hopefully it works out for her. Anyway, the WLPZ radio schedule is available if you want to go to their website, and WLPZ.org, and they lay it out every day of the week. They have live programming. I got to get back on there. Mondays have been crazy busy, but I got to get back on there. I used to do a show, Carl, and maybe we can simulcast this show and then just repeat it, you know? And then when I can't do a live show, but they have some great things here. And DJ Wayne does the drive home, National Sports with John. That's pending. DJ Adams. They have oldies and country, and they got old rockabilly kind of thing. Sonny does like old style, and then they have the new. Then they have Amos and Andy at Sunday at 12:15 to 12:45. Nutmeg Junction, Chicken Man, Leominster Uncommon, Brazilian music. Anyway, lots going on. So, geez, I didn't even get through half of the things. I guess I got carried away. But if you need smoke alarms, you can call Red Cross has a program, and you can call them at 1-800-746-3511 and get those smoke alarms. So. Busy week next week as well. Lots going on. Go to our website to see what's happening. Join one of our Facebook pages. And if you don't do that, you can always call City Hall, and we'll be glad to share with you what's happening. But thank you for watching the show. Thank you for the whole team here at WLTV. Good night. God bless you. Remember, the world is run by those who show up. You need to show up. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you through the generous support of Colonial Insulation Company, residential and commercial insulation and fireproofing services, specializing in blown-in cellulose as well as spray foam insulation. For more information, visit their website, colonialinsulation.com. And by Medical Arts Hearing Instruments, 52 West Street in Leominster, locally and authentically providing better hearing and quality of life since 1978. www.donot shout.com.